Ramadan is a month in which Muslims engage in this incredible spiritual boot camp. Fasting can mean different things to different people. When we fast from before sunrise to sunset for an entire month, and there's no food or water, period. No food or water, no bread, no nothing. You don't eat or drink. And of course, Islam is on a lunar calendar, so it moves every year, about 10 days earlier. During that time, you restrict the intake to the body so that you can focus on the intake of the soul. So instead of being focused on consumption, constant consumption, you are consuming words of remembrance, words of prayer. You're to be hyper conscious of not doing anything that would spiritually validate your fast, just as you would physically. So just like you won't eat or drink, you certainly won't engage in sin, though you shouldn't engage in sins throughout the year. But, you're not going to speak words of evil. You're not going to gossip or slander. You try to fast with your eyes, not look at things that are not praiseworthy. So you try to engage in a wholesome act of disciplining yourself with a consciousness of God. Then channel that into engaging the soul instead, exercising the soul instead. And what you'll find with Muslims in this act of God consciousness, where they reduce the consumption, is they become far more grateful for the blessings of God, because throughout our lives, we just take sips of water, we eat what we can, we snack. When you're abstaining from that, you become so much more grateful for that sip of water, so much more grateful for that bite of food, so much more aware of those that don't have the same access to those blessings that you have. So you also develop a sense of empathy for the poor that can't help but fast. And spiritually, you are engaged in extra reading, extra acts of charity. Muslims are most charitable in the month of Ramadan. So you just feel great. You talk to Muslims, their favorite time of the year is Ramadan. You feel amazing. You feel absolutely incredible because you taste a different type of consumption. You feed your soul for a change. And in that process, you connect with God in a way that you simply could not without the distractions of the day-to-day throughout the year. Now, it's good that it's one month of the year because it's honestly physically taxing, right? So it gives you a chance to experience it for that 1 month, but then you're encouraged to fast a few days of the year as well outside of the month of Ramadan to keep that connection. So as Ramadan goes on, your acts of worship increase. So in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, there is an intense period of prayer throughout the night. So every night in Ramadan, we have something called the Taraweeh prayers. The Taraweeh prayers are about an hour and a half of prayer outside of the 5 daily prayers. So the mosques are packed every night in Ramadan. The last 10 nights of Ramadan, people will engage in prayer throughout the entire night. So the only sleep that you're probably getting is actually a couple of hours in the morning before you go to work. So it's everything sort of put together, the disruption of schedule, the disruption of diet, the physically exerting yourself. But the way you feel is unmatched. I mean, you feel so fulfilled through that deprivation. And it's actually the point, it all ties back together when you talk about even tests and trials. God does not deprive us of anything except that he gives us something greater in return. And you do not deprive yourself of anything for the sake of God except that he gives you something greater in return. And so fasting is an exercise in patience that unlocks an infinite sense of gratitude and a greater connection to God.